those are certain nuances that I kind of hung on to more on this rewatch, and the subtlety of how it starts. Even when we get to the very beginning, I got a chair full of stuff, and you gonna come ask me if the seat taken. It's stuff in the seat, of course, but it was like little subtleties. And
Yeah.
when they first meet the couple's son, and she asked the little boy his name, and the parents' response is, oh, he has like this certain issue, and
Mm-hmm.
people make him feel uncomfortable when they put him on the spot, as to make her feel like she's doing something to him to make him uncomfortable. Like it was
Yes.
those little nuances of like, if you are a real life person in these situations, it's very easy to get sucked into this, especially with the subtlety of how they did it and how, like you said, they were gaslighting and flipping stuff on Bjorn and his wife. And I just
Mm-hmm.
hate when people like, and I mean, I love to do it. It's fun to just talk shit about what you would and wouldn't do
Right.
in scenarios you have never been in. But I'm
Yes.
like, as far as what I feel the message of the film is, I think it was done really good and very realistically.
Yeah.
I'm just like, baby, people do this every day. And then I hate when people feel like they can't be gaslit or manipulated. It may be different levels. It may be harder to
Mm-hmm.
manipulate some people, but I personally feel like every single person can be manipulated. That's the point of
For sure.
manipulation. People just have to figure out how to get you, what triggers you. But everybody can be manipulated.
Absolutely.
Gaslighting works for a reason. As I was going through the movie, I think it wasn't until about an hour into the movie that I felt like the couple actually did something stupid. When we were about an hour into the movie,
Mm-hmm.
if I'm not mistaken, that's the moment where the two kids went to do this dance. And that's when the layers really started to peel back on the
Yes.
couple. And
Mm-hmm.
I am a prime person who will say, like, if I'm in a horror movie situation and somebody need help, I'm gonna look. I'm not finna go over there and risk my life. But where I do draw the line is kids. I
Right.
cannot get by and let you berate a child, hurt a child. Baby, the way I would have left out when we went from that scene to Bajon brushing his teeth in the bathroom, I said, oh, yeah, this is stupid.
Yeah.
Now, this is stupid.
It's like the next thing should have been y'all in the car. Like, what
Because
are we doing here?
damn. And I think that's when they was in there hunching after that whole scene.
Yeah.
Like,
It
are
was.
you crazy? That ain't gonna
Mm-hmm.
put me in the mood. Like, we need to
Listen, because the way they took that little girl and had her in the bed, and he was in the bed naked.
and then that was something else. I would be damned if a grown ass man got your pale bare ass and my child in the bed. Oh hell no!
Listen, the movie should have
That
been over
whole
then.
house would have been rocking.
Movie should have been over then because they would sleep. Okay, well, you about to wake up dead because what are we talking about right now?
So
And
I feel like the movie was such a great and realistic, like, character study of the complacency and the people pleasing that a lot of people do.
mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Who was the worst characters in this?
Listen, Bjorn. Bjorn. I don't even know if I'm saying it right. Bjorn, I guess the B is silent. Bjorn. By far the worst character. Just the idea of protecting your family. And he just did not do that. And it's so cold-blooded at the end when they asked, why are you doing this to us? It was really remind me of Strangers, but he said, because you let me. I said, period. If you just don't put no boundaries up, if you don't stand up for yourself, and he G-checked him so many times. When he went into that bathroom, I said, oh, okay. And we got visuals, so I ain't gonna go into it too much. But when he went to that bathroom and started peeing and left out, and Bjorn didn't say nothing, he knew at that moment, I got you. Because you as a man gonna let another man just come in the bathroom and just pee while you brushing your teeth, and you not gonna say nothing to me? You're not gonna ask me why I'm in here, you not gonna check me. And the one time that it seemed like Bjorn stood up for himself when he went to explain himself, like why they left. There was a moment where no, it's when he took the radio out of his lap when they were like basically like abusing Abel, and Patrick looked kind of surprised, like, oh, wait a minute, I might have been wrong about that. But then when he got up and he saw how basically Bjorn cowered to him, he's like, no, you're exactly who I thought you were.
You know that little I think it's a meme or something that be going around online where it says the villain and then it says the real villain. That's it. The villain is Patrick and Karen. The true villain is Bjorn.
Oh my God. Yes. That is so factual in this.
I personally feel like, and like I said, I had a different experience the second time. If you would have asked me this when I saw this 2 years ago, I would have said great story, horrible pacing. But I actually feel like it was very deliberate pacing, and it was
Mm-hmm.
for a reason. We had to set up the little stones and stepping stones that,
Mm-hmm.
let me look again, because what was that? Patrick and
Yeah.
Karen was
Yeah.
setting up. Like, we had to see them slowly chipping away at figuring out, are these, because when they are first meet them on that vacation, we got a whole table, we got a whole bunch of people, we could have targeted anybody, but we
Right.
specifically do things to let us know who we're dealing with and if these are the type of people that we want to target. And I feel like they did a great job with the pacing as far as having to show, because when you deal with people like this, 9 times out of 10, like they say, Ted Bundy was charismatic. Like, when you deal with like psychopaths and stuff, it's always
Mm-hmm.
people that know how to be charismatic, that know how to
Yeah.
be charming, and they slowly peel, because people can't pretend forever, first of all.
No, not
So
at
I
all.
like how this movie did that. They slowly start to unravel, and you slowly start to feel like, okay, something is up. And we needed to see Bajon unsatisfied, unfulfilled, like
Yeah.
having that weirdness, unspoken. Like, we needed to see all of those things. And I unfortunately can be that type of viewer that's like, what an action, what an action, like I can
Oh
really be
Lord.
like that. But on the storytelling front, I really think it was pretty perfect. I think they paced it and did it in such a way that needed to be done, because we
Mm-hmm.
needed to see how they got from point A to point B.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, yeah. And for me, when would it be my first watch, I didn't mind the pacing, because I love a movie where I can look for the hidden meaning behind things, and I like, and that takes time to do. And I feel like for this to be a 90-minute film, they did a good job of focusing on what needed to be focused on, because a
Right.
lot of times you'll get a 90-minute film, Tyler Perry, and you'll spend the first few minutes of just with foolery. And then you try to pack all this at the end. It's too late for all that, because you wasted my time in the beginning. I don't care nothing about these characters. But I think because of the way that they, like you said, they built out and they fleshed out the storyline, the pacing of it felt like it was just right. Because I feel like if they had rushed it from point A to point B, then we definitely would have been like, well, why is Jordan acting like this? And why, you feel a little bit more confused about his decision, versus being able to see him at home temporarily, to see how he literally is just like checked out, and he's just like going through the motions, and he's not really present. And then to get to the house, and just the little nuance of things that Karen and Patrick were doing, that were just like little looks that they gave, or like little dismissive comments, or these little things here and there, that when you have the reveal at the third act, it doesn't feel like it came out of left field, because you're like, oh yeah, this seems like a natural evolution of what this story is trying to tell.
Everything was deliberate. Everything was for me when I watch a movie. Of course, some scenes can just be fun, some scenes can just, but I always feel like if you can take any scene out of a movie and it does not change your perception, the
Right.
plot, then it's unnecessary. You
Right.
cannot take anything out of this movie. It is
At all.
all necessary. Like, it
Mm-hmm.
literally is all necessary. And I feel like your opinion of liking Bajorn's decisions doesn't matter. We understand his decisions.
Right.
And
Right.
that's a part of how they paced this and how the story was mapped out. You may not like it, you may not agree, but you can understand and that's one thing that irks me. I don't know if you're this way, but I can't stand when character motivations makes no sense.
Oh yeah.
Like,
For sure.
when you have a characters are supposed to be mapped out a certain way. Like, we
Mm-hmm.
are supposed to be able to trace and understand a character's motivation, whether they're evil, whether they're stupid. Action shouldn't come out of left field.
Right. Exactly.
I know I grew up a morbid child,
Mm-hmm.
but I have always loved a bleak, dark, depressive ending.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know why I'm like that, but I will prefer that every single time over a happy ending. I like a villain wins, evil triumphs. I don't know. Like, I like the dark, depressive endings. And it
Mm-hmm.
don't get no darker and no depressive than this. The worst scene for me is when we get to the very end and we have Bjorn and Louise out there in the middle of nowhere and they're told to strip naked, which is yet another, like, you can't just kill us. No, you have to
Yeah.
humiliate us. Like, you have to strip people naked. That's degrading.
Mm-hmm.
For me, the psychological toll of what he did, what Patrick did to them in that moment, and then when we are hugging and holding each other and that first rock hits, and
Mm.
Bajoran actually tries to crawl on top of his wife to shield her, that ending, honestly, is so hard for me not to cry. And people on my channel know I'm a crybaby. Like, I will cry on movies. And one thing that I can really appreciate, and it's so, I feel like it sounds so morbid to say, like, this is like the worst scene, but it's my favorite scene.
Mm-hmm.
Because as much as I love horror movies, and I love a mindless, brainless, entertaining horror movie, I love blood and guts and gore and mayhem. But one thing I love is a horror that like elicits emotions and makes me feel something. I like horror
Yeah.
movies that has like a heart to it.
Mm-hmm.
So for me, it's the worst scene, but it's my favorite scene because of how it makes me feel for the characters, and it has like a heartbeat to it. And I
Yeah.
really, really love that. Like, love the mindless, brainless Michael Myers stalking people and people just dying. But I
Yeah.
just really love for there to be a heart to a story. I don't know. I like for stuff to elicit some type of emotion out of me. And that, I mean, just thinking about, first of all, what they had to just witness happen to their child.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like you can see it in, what is it, Louise. You can see she pretty much is like, well, just like, this is my
Yeah.
child, and you can, it's like the life has been taken out of her.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh God. Yeah, that what's the worst scene for you? That, like, it's like that's the worst scene, but it's like simultaneously my favorite because I'm morbid.
Yeah. Um, the worst scene for me, again, is when Abel was being berated in that living room. Um, because he was I can't imagine the distress that he was feeling, and the fact that he knows that these are not his parents. And so I feel like the hesitancy of Bjorn and Louise to step in was because they were trying to respect the parents' right to parent their child how they want to. And when you think about it, that is so cold-blooded because this ain't even your child. So we are literally watching this kidnapped child be tortured in front of us, and we're hesitant to speak up because we trying to respect your boundaries. Ain't that nothing? That is,
And it
to me, that's
adds
so
to,
sinister.
yeah, and it adds to the bleakness that Abel is going through.
Yes.
I'm in front of people. Like, it's
Yes.
not like, like you would think, oh, I can finally get help. It's like, it's a difference between if you're secluded somewhere and there's no one around to help. But imagine that hopelessness that there's
Yes.
people here and I still can't get no help.
Yes. Yes. Like he's literally like yelling while they're in the house and they're just like, "Oh, it's nothing. It's okay. He's fine."
Yeah.
And it's just like the hopelessness in that scene that the little actor that played Abel, I am notoriously like hard on like child actors. They get on my nerves. But this little boy, especially when the part where Patrick came up and he like grabbed the back of his head and like turned his face, that little boy, he looked like it felt so real. It felt like in that moment, like I was like a fly on the wall of this very like sick situation. When Patrick and Bjorn were in the car and he said, "You want to hear this Dutch song?" And he played it, and the song was "It Never Ends." And that was in the car. And then the scene at the end when they were driving back to was it Tuscany, I think, to the villa, and that song was playing over in that scene. It was the instrumental of it, and it was basically like it never ends. And I was just like, first of all, perfect music placement. It was so good, and then to end the movie on that, oh.
Yeah.
Crazy. So I guess that goes to rewatch value.
And see, that's why sometimes I don't like we watch a movie and then we review it.
Mhm.
Sometimes I don't like reviewing a movie after only seeing it one time because it's
Mhm.
stuff like that that did not really, I don't know, you notice it, but I
Yeah.
feel like sometimes it takes a rewatch to be really like you said, the placement of that, the mess, like what you're getting behind that, like it's so much more than just, oh, we're
Mhm.
just putting this song in here.
Right.
I think this movie is brilliant, brilliant, and I love this movie. I think it has a low rewatch value just because it's such a bleak movie. Like,
Mhm.
it's not, I feel like when you think of rewatch value, at least to me, I think about something kind of fun to put on. And
Yeah.
when I say fun, like people gonna still be dying and getting chopped up. But
Yeah.
this is like a bleak, emotionally draining type of watch, at least to me
Yeah.
personally. And this, like I said, when I just saw this yesterday, this was my first rewatch in 2 years.
Mm.
And I'm the type of movie watcher. If I love something, I will watch it 100 times. I have not rewatched this, and I loved it. It was my top 10 of the year, but it's just such an emotionally draining
Yeah.
watch.
Heavy.
I'm hard pressed to be in the mood to say, "Hey, I want to go watch Agnes get her tongue chopped out." Like,
Right. Look, it ain't on my list. It ain't there. I already seen it. Take me off the roster.
I feel like this is more of a one and done movie, or
Mhm.
a rewatch years later when maybe it's fading from your memory and you just want to
Right.
bring, but it's a one and done. I would absolutely say, as a horror fan, I think you should watch it. It's worth the watch,
Mhm.
but I'm hard pressed to see any type of high rewatch value.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I agree. For me, I think a second watch would be important, just and probably not even the whole thing. I just, for the part that I missed in the beginning, um because I know there was context and things that I didn't pick up on, because I just was like, oh, it's just the beginning, it ain't gonna be nothing, but in actuality it was. So just to be able to catch things that maybe I missed, I will watch it for that. But like you said, I'm not gonna seek this out and be like, I kind of want to see Speak No Evil. I don't believe so. And I do want to watch the remake,
Me
the
too.
American version, just to see if, because I've been mindful not to watch anybody's recaps or reviews or anything, because I don't want anything to kind of be spoiled. But I'm curious if they went with this ending,
Oh,
or
it's
if they,
American. You know they ain't finna
but
chop that
they
little girl's
appeased
tongue
the
out.
American audience, yeah, and went with like the whole hero thing, and because American audience do not like these types of endings. And when you,
American audiences prefer happy endings. They
yeah,
prefer good triumphing over evil. And even when we hear stories about test audiences and how studios will test endings,
mm-hmm,
the happy endings always test better. The thing that really popped in my head, and it's like such an inopportune time, when we got to that moment where they're in the car and
mm-hmm,
Patrick punches Bajon in his face, I literally thought about, I think it's Mike Tyson who said everybody got a plan to their punch in the face. You could tell by his, Bajon ain't never even been slapped. Like, you could
right,
tell he was in such, like, he ain't never, and I ain't never been slapped in the face either. And I can't even imagine the shock, the pain, like, but
yes,
that's why I really love the craft of acting so much. It felt so real. Like, that actor really looked like he got smacked in the face and had never been smacked before. Like, there was
yes,
no way. But I think that's why what you said is why I've always loved to not have a happy ending since I was a kid. I feel like you said, it's not realistic.
right,
Good is not always going to triumph over evil. It's just
no,
not. Bad
no,
things happen to bad people. Good people don't always triumph. Sometimes evil win. Evil never dies. Ain't that the
right,
tagline that horror loves to use? Is evil
yes,
never dies.
yes, yes, and it's so true. It's so true.
But that's why I love to be in my foreign film bag. I don't care if it's Japanese, Korean, like, they are going to give you the bleakest. Like, they will.
Mm-hmm.
Woo, they will do a
Mm-hmm.
million things. I feel like they sit around thinking, how can we get the audience to cry? How can we
Yeah.
rip their hope out? Like,
Yes.
my rating is going to be 5 out of 5 knives. I think this movie is pretty brilliant, top to bottom. Even the cinematography, the footage and scenes that we kept getting of like the scenery and stuff, like everything works. The dialogue, the story, the characters, beginning, middle, end, third act, my perfect type of ending. I would definitely give this 5 out of 5. What about you, Tisha?
For me, I would probably say this would be like a 4 out of 5 for me. Only reason why is because the storyline up until like the third act for me was kind of predictable in a way. And again, I'm gonna say it again. If People Under the Stairs did not exist, then the whole reveal of his tongue and all that stuff, probably would have been more shocking to me. And then also, if I hadn't seen again the trailer for the remake, I probably would have probably gave it a little bit of a higher rating. But that's the only reason why I would give it a 4 out of 5. Just some of the reveals were just kind of on the nose for me. It makes me even more curious to go watch the new one to see how Americanized it is. I hope it's not that bad, but I'm sure it probably is.
I want to see it. Maybe I'm biased, but I just always feel like American remakes never live up to foreign originals. We've done this a million times before, and people have been harping on the fact that this remake is coming out only 2 years after the original. It's not the first time America has did a foreign remake only a few years after the original, but I do have hope that it will be entertaining, because I do not think that James McAvoy was signed up for just a trash movie. I think he has a really solid filmography at this point. And do I think I'll love it as much as the original? No. Do I think it's going to go to the places the original did? No. I think it will be the inferior of the two, but I don't think it's going to, and maybe I'll eat my words. Maybe it will be trash, but I don't think it's going to just be a sucky trash movie. Thank you, Tisha, for being here thank you for even wanting to watch the movie, agreeing to watch the movie. Thank you for being here for the discussion. I hope you come outside a little more. This was fun.
I will try. I'm gonna be definitely more proactive and reaching out and be like, hey girl, what's going on? You got a little space for me on your panel, versus being, like, invite me.
Yeah, I'm trying to really make Killer Con a thing. I can't, and you know what? It feels like dog years. I can't believe this was only the 11th episode. Like, we do this every week, and I'm like, we only at 11? Like, it feels like this should be episode 100. Like, but this is my little baby. The little engine that could. And
it's such a great concept. I wish more people had eyes on it, for sure, because it's so much fun to watch.
But thank you so much, and I will see you in the next one.
Goodbye.